Hello, hemp supporters. I'm Melissa Erickson, and today I'm in Washington, D.C. on behalf of the U.S. Hemp Roundtable, joined by Congressman Ed Perlmutter, the lead sponsor and champion of the Safe Banking Act. Congressman, thanks so much for being here.
Lisa, thank you for having me. It's a gorgeous day here in Washington.
We lucked out with the weather, that's for sure.
Yes, we did.
Well, the reason we wanted to have you on the show is because you are the lead sponsor championing the Safe Banking Act. Tell us a little bit about that bill and what that means.
So the Safe Banking Act is a piece of legislation to provide a safe harbor for financial institutions, credit unions, banks, to provide banking services, checking accounts, payroll accounts, savings accounts for marijuana businesses, for hemp businesses, and those ancillary services. Could be the accountant, could be the fertilizer company, because right now the federal law and the state laws are all kind of in conflict with one another when it comes to banking, and we just get tons of cash in this in the business, particularly in the marijuana side of things.
What was the driving factors for you supporting this bill?
Back in 2013, Colorado had just legalized cannabis for adults, and so had the state of Washington, and we could see the potential for that and the sale and use of hemp, particularly going forward. They needed to have banks because there was so much cash involved, and it's occurred. I mean, there is so much cash in this because folks don't have access to banks or to financial services, and we've seen a lot of robberies, we've seen some murders. There was just a whole bunch of robberies in Oregon, about 100 last year, armed robberies, and a young man was killed about a month ago because there is so much cash. We need to get that cash into the banks where they belong and allow people to operate with credit cards, operate with payroll accounts and things like that, and not pay employees in cash and not pay taxes in cash, but to do it in a normal business-like way.
I'm glad you brought that up because the tax issue, that's a huge thing. I mean, this money can be going to supporting infrastructure, schools, and all the areas that we really need support in right now.
Absolutely. So in Colorado, we've been able to see a lot of tax revenue derived from the sale of hemp products and from the sale of marijuana, cannabis type products. But the United States is just sort of not really taking this issue on. The last time the Controlled Substance Act was modified at all was in 1971, when anything with THC was made illegal for all purposes and it became a Schedule I drug. So after 50 years, and now all these states allowing CBD, hemp, marijuana type products, there's just so much cash. We've got to modify the law. We've got to bring the federal law kind of up to speed with all the states that have just moved forward on this subject.
You're from a state that has both legal hemp production and marijuana production. Tell us why this bill is important for both and why those that might be on the sidelines because it contains both should support this bill.
So what we found, particularly for marijuana and marijuana products with THC in it, that's illegal for all purposes under the Controlled Substance Act. Hemp was legalized under the agriculture bill from a few years ago, but we've discovered that banking for hemp is still difficult. And so in the Safe Banking Act, we address a lot of issues, particularly for marijuana, but there's a whole section in there on banking issues that the hemp industry has run into despite it having been legalized. Because if you're a banker, you still are a little bit nervous about this whole area.
Absolutely, and hemp is cannabis, so is marijuana, so that's where the lines get construed. And hemp now too, it's legal in all 50 states. So this bill benefits all 50 states, and I think that's important. This is for the hemp and CBD industries, and we've been waiting for this clarification for a long time.
Absolutely. So on the marijuana side, it's 47 states, and on the hemp side, it's 50 states and the District of Columbia and the territories. So we can't forget them as well. And this really is to try to straighten out these banking problems, credit card problems. The hemp industry has run into some credit card issues. And within the Safe Banking Act, we try to address that.
This bill just passed the House.
Yes.
Congratulations, that's great news. What are the prospects for it in the Senate? Are you feeling good about it?
Feeling pretty positive. So in the House, there's been great collaboration between Democrats and Republicans. We had every single Democrat voted for the bill and 106 Republicans. So we had 321 votes in favor of the bill, which is a substantial majority, more than 2/3 of the House.
Wow.
So we sent that over, and we've sent it over to the Senate before, in the last cycle, where it sat in the Banking Committee under, then the chairman was Senator Crapo from Idaho, and it just wouldn't move. We feel much more positive and optimistic that it will move. Sherrod Brown, senator from Ohio, is, I think, more receptive to this. Pat Toomey, the senator from Pennsylvania, Republican, is more open to this as well. And we're now up to, Colin and I were just talking about it, 37 co-sponsors, and Jeff Merkley, who's the prime sponsor from Oregon. And so the two prime sponsors are Merkley from Oregon and Steve Daines, senator from Montana, Republican. I feel we got a real good chance.
It sounds like it.
Yeah.
We're off to a good start, right?
Yeah. So the Senate, is looking at this very carefully. They're looking, particularly the Senate Democrats, should they expand this bill to deal with research, to deal with taxes, to deal with a number of equity issues, because, so many people of color were, found to have criminal charges against them because of marijuana, not so much because of hemp, but certainly anything that had THC. And so the Senate Dems and I think some Republicans are looking, do they want to expand the bill or not? And we'll see where it goes, but I feel pretty confident about the Safe Banking Act as we passed it, coming out of the Senate in some form or another.
What can hemp supporters do to help garner congressional support in the Senate?
Well, I can tell you one place to start is with Senator Mitch McConnell. And I worked very closely with Andy Barr, who's a congressman from Kentucky, on the language involving the hemp industry. And so Andy and I worked closely, our offices worked closely. We really tried to deal in a very specific way with some of the banking problems that he and his hemp constituents were facing. And so to the degree some of your hemp members and followers can talk to the Republicans, but especially Senator McConnell, I know that would be helpful.
Well, hemp supporters, you can do that by going to hempsupporter.com, visiting federal action and resources, and looking up the Safe Banking campaign and messaging your senator. It could be Mitch McConnell, it could be somebody else, but definitely ask them to support this critical legislation. It's not just a marijuana bill, this is for hemp and CBD businesses. This is a huge opportunity for us. So please help voice your support, and thank you so much, Congressman, for joining us today.
Thank you very much. So I should say that between the last cycle and this cycle, one of the big areas that we modified and improved was the whole section on hemp. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.